for playing the video. So that's my friend Jason. I found this amazing story in the Bible. Elisha is called to prophesy on demand. The king brings them in. There's going to be a battle, an ambush, and they're like, we need some information from the Lord right away. And you know what Elisha said? Okay, get me a harpist. Isn't that a strange thing to say? What would he need a harpist for? It's like, well, the truth is, anointed worship leaders help us hear better. So if any of you, you're wanting to grow in your hearing, never mind worship leaders, he can use top 40 stuff, but, you know, if you start with worship songs that really touch your heart, and just put your headphones on and lay down, and then ask Jesus to show you what he wants to show you as you're listening. I found that to be a really good fast track into hearing better. So I wanted you to hear from my friend there. And now we're going to spend a little bit of time, a little more time on this meeting place idea, but in terms of a longer exercise that we do with anybody. I use this in evangelism all the time. We use it at the recovery houses all the time. Every month when there's a fresh batch of women come in off the streets, coke addicts, heroin addicts, crack, meth, some of them are like only 2 weeks out of prostitution. And every month we got a group of ladies goes in, and what they do is they help them find a meeting place in their hearts with Jesus, and Jesus begins to speak to them, and he begins to tell them good news, and then they give their lives to him. And it's like they follow Jesus because they actually met him. I think it's crazy that anyone becomes a Christian. It's like a full-on miracle when you think about we're trying to get people to give their lives to someone they've never met. It's like a mail-order bride thing. And they do it. It's nuts. And it's good, but I'm finding evangelism is even way easier if they actually get to meet Jesus face to face, hear him for themselves, and go, oh, that's what he's like. No one told me. So I'll share what that looks like with them, but I want you to experience it as they do. So I've had the privilege of going in. I get to lead them sometimes, and it's part of their 12-step program. Step 11 in this 12-step program says this: through prayer and meditation, we sought to improve our conscious contact with our higher power. So the idea is they've been introduced to the idea that there is a power greater than themselves that can help them come into recovery. But step 11 is you need to get to know him better. And they found nothing works better, the people who lead this recovery house, nothing works better in the 28 years that Karen has led this home than the meeting place in improving somebody's conscious contact with God. And so if it works for them, I'm sure it will help with you. But I will use this if I have 10 minutes with somebody in a coffee shop. It's a form of prayer that leads them into a meeting place, just like we were doing with Psalm 23 or the cross, except for it's conversational. You can do it with your eyes open, and it's just very interesting, and people love to share. So this is what happens in the home. So I'm going to tell you the questions that we ask the ladies in the home, or that I ask people when I'm doing evangelism. And I'd like you to just pretend like you're one of them and answer the questions too, and I'll check in with you, okay? So the first question that I ask them is this: if you could meet God anywhere at all for a one-on-one meeting, and it was perfectly safe, just you and him, where would you meet him? And I tell you, when we're in the recovery house, every single woman wants to tell us, oh, I would meet him here, and I would meet him there. Sometimes they're almost getting in fights because they don't take turns well, to tell you where they would want to meet God one-on-one. So let's play. If you could meet God anywhere at all for a face-to-face, where would you meet him? Any of it? Well, how about you? In like a pasture. Like a green pasture? Okay. It's just grass, or is there anything else there? And oh, there's a stream there too? Okay. Anything else? There's a tree. Okay, so there's a tree there, and there's a stream, and you're sitting under the tree. Okay, that's a nice picture, hey? I have lots of people say that very same picture to me. They're like, yeah, that's where I'd meet him. Where else would you guys meet him? On the beach. That might be the number one answer. Lots of people would want to meet him on the beach. Now, would you be sitting on the beach, or would you be walking or standing? Where are you? You're sitting on the beach, or are you on the sand, or you got yeah? Do you have a towel, or you got a towel? Okay. I know you're looking out at the water. Is it calm, or is there waves? Gentle. Lake or ocean? Nice breeze. Clouds? No? Clear. Okay. Sunny day. Oh yeah. Temperature? Perfect. Okay. Who else? Where would you meet him one-on-one? The Grand Canyon. Top, bottom, trail? Top looking over? You're at the railing kind of thing? No railing. Okay. Good. Where else? Where would you meet him one-on-one? The Sea of Galilee. A barn? Like for real? Do tell. You're in. Okay. You like horses. And you're in the barn? Okay. What are you doing in the barn? You're just standing there in the barn, in this horse barn. Cool. Okay. So that's the first question we'll ask them. Some will say a mountaintop. Some will say their bedroom. Some will give a particular place from their memory. That counts. It all counts. What you're doing is, just as David provided images, just as the New Testament provides images, now the Holy Spirit's working in our hearts. Because meanwhile, I'm praying, Lord, show them where you'd want to meet them. But they're thinking, I'm coming up with something cool. And it is. It's a picture. And where are you seeing this picture? I noticed as I was asking you guys, you do this. Watch my eyeballs. I'd say, so where are you? Beach. What, is it waves or like clear? Wait, I'm telling you, there's no beach up there in that corner of the room. What's my eyes doing? It's like I'm going somewhere. My physical eyes go boop, and my eyes of my heart have just opened. And you were watching it already. Where? Heart/mind. The Greek word is nous, N-O-U-S, if you want to transliterate it. And here's the definition of the heart or mind in the Bible, okay? It is the faculty of the soul that perceives the overtures of divine love. That's the nous. It's heart/mind. We read mind in the Bible. Set your minds on things about what a small word is mind. The faculty of the soul that perceives the overtures of divine love. A symphony of the love of God coming towards us all the time, and he has given you the receiver to pick it up. That receiver has an eye, and that eye sees this stuff. Okay? That's what's going on. Of course, the crack addict doesn't know that. They just know they've got a cool idea and they want to tell. Second question I asked them, I think I already asked some of you, is in that picture, where are you? The function of that question is that they step into it now. They're not watching it like a movie. They are in that place, right? So in their spirit, they have now entered this safe place, this meeting place, this hiding secret place in their heart. So they're now sitting on the beach. They are now standing in the barn. They are now leaning out over the Grand Canyon, and so that's where they are. So in your picture, now where were you? A pasture, and where are you? Oh, we already answered, right? You're sitting under the tree. With the ladies, and I think this is a good thing. Sometimes I'll skip it if I'm in a rush, but I'll say, how old are you in that picture? And it's very interesting. Often they're like 6 or 8 or 10. They're very, very often children. They're quite often the age they were either just before their first major wounding or the age they were at their first major wounding. Because it's either like their innocent state before they were wounded, or they're at the point where Jesus is about to heal them. They don't even necessarily know that. They're just thinking, yeah, I'm just a little girl there. Wow, that's really cool. Some of it's just like, no, I'm me today, and that's okay. It counts. That's not, there's not like a test or something. So so just think about how old are you in your picture? In the place you would be one-on-one with Jesus, how old would you like to be there? What would feel most safe to you? What would feel like you'd receive the most grace there? You see how the becoming like a kid helps? Okay, so then the next question I ask is, and it's weird, I ask it hypothetically, and somehow that helps. I think maybe it gives permission for faith. I ask, if God were to come there, how would he come to you? How would he need to come to you? I remember one girl, she had a green pasture. It was surrounded by trees. She would sit in the middle, and she said, oh, I've had this all my life, but I've never once experienced inner peace. And I said, I think I know why. Why? Because God needs to be there. Could you just invite God there? And she says, oh, no, I've never had a good experience with church. I'm like, I never said anything about church. She said, well, the whole God thing. I'm like, well, never mind about church. Never mind about your bad experiences with Christians. Let me tell you, I've had worse ones. So there. Okay? And just if God were to come there, how would he have to come? And she said, an older, caring mentor. I've had other ones say, a little librarian. I've had other ones say, it's like my mom. I'm like, oh, God can't be a woman. We all know he's a man. Wait a minute. Is that true? Well, we have a metaphor called Father. We also have God who's Spirit. We also have God making man in his image, male and female. But what if it's just like, I just want to show you some motherly love because you can handle that? Would God be allowed to come that way? Would that be okay with us? Let's say if there's a woman who's never once met a safe male in her life. In fact, every male, including her father, had abused her. Maybe he would need to come the first time in the form of a woman. Well, I would say that could be heresy, except for I've seen the fruit. One girl said, he comes to me as a Labrador retriever. I'm like, God's not a dog. Mr. Religious, right? Okay, he can be a lion or a lamb, but he can't be a dog. Mammals, fine. Cats, fine. Canine's not fine. Why? Well, it's not in the Bible. They've never read a Bible. If they're lucky, they've used Bible paper for cigarette rolling. But here's what the Lord said, just like slow down, Brad. Ask them what a Labrador retriever is like. Help me here. Tell me what a Labrador retriever is like. Loyal, loving, soft, friendly, gentle, loves children, man's best friend, my best friend. Oh, you're describing God. And I realized God is still able to use symbols, and he didn't run out after the Bible. He didn't handcuff himself. Well, I've used 8 animals. The rest are out of bounds. They're illegal because, they didn't get in the Bible paper. It's like, no. And I'm like, why? And then I will ask, why does he come to you that way? And then she would say, because I've never met a safe human in my life. Oh, okay. Of course. Of course. Of course. But how about you? How would God need to come to your place? How would he come to you on the beach or on the pasture? How would he come to you at the Grand Canyon? How does he come to you in the barn? Do you have a few answers? How does he come to you? How would he need to come to you? As a companion. Good. What else? A grandfatherly figure. Okay. What else? I mean, he could come as Jesus of the Gospels, right? That would count, wouldn't it? Yeah. Comes as my very best friend. Sometimes he shows up as Jason Upton. Who knows? Okay, and then I will ask this. What expression do you see in his face? And now we're into some of the stuff we did last night. Oh, he's smiling, or he's concerned, or he cares. And I'll say, just look in his face. I find a lot of Christians have difficulty looking in the Lord's face because we have heard for a long time, teachings that that's not okay, or that no one looks on the Lord and lives. Whereas the Bible also says that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the exact representation of his likeness. And so all the fullness of the Godhead dwelled in Jesus in bodily form. And lots of people saw Jesus, and we get to see him with the eyes of our heart. So we look at, we see how he comes, we look in his face, we see his smile, we say, what are his eyes telling me? Okay, so how about some of these kids here? If you were to meet Jesus one-on-one, anywhere at all, where would you meet him? Well, you could pick. Where would you want to meet him? Well, where's your favorite place to be? Yourself. In the whole world. Home. What if he could come meet you at home? Which room would you meet him in? The living room. Where would you be in the living room? Do you have a favorite chair, or would you be on the floor? You'd be standing up. Which part of the room are you standing in? In the middle. And if Jesus were to come to you there in the living room, where would he be in the room? So you're both standing in the middle? Are you facing each other? What expression is on his face? He's happy. Ask him why he's happy. So if he were happy, why is he happy? Do you know? What were you going to say? I'm already getting the hang of you. I don't know means I know exactly, but I'm not sure I want to say it. And I know that you're on the spot, and that's okay. I'll leave you for now, but I want you to just listen to Jesus as you look at him happy there, and think about why he's happy. How about you? Where would you meet him? Niagara Falls. Are you at the top, or are you like swimming at the bottom or something, or where are you? You're jumping off the waterfall. Someone give him a high five. Come on. And where's Jesus in that picture? Where's Jesus in that picture? He's at the bottom. What's he do when you jump off? He's waiting for you. That's so cool. When you get down closer to him, what expression is on his face? He's happy. Why is he happy? Look at these kids giggling. He fills me with joy in his presence. Like, what if that's like the most spiritual sound you'll hear all day is children laughing? If you don't like that, you're going to hate heaven. And do you see how unmystical that is? It's just like, well, I don't know. This is how it gets at the recovery house. It's like, I don't know. Why is he's got tattoos all over. Is that legal? What's the very first thing he would say to you in that place? This is where things blow up at the recovery house. He will say 2 words and the place will come undone. He will say something like this: I know. River of tears. He will say something like, it's okay. You know what? 2 words are the real killer ones. He is efficient. It's okay. Or, I love you, or I've been waiting here all your life. And so on and so on. And this is this is the meeting place. I'm going to risk going like 5 minutes long. It's okay. Hopefully you don't have to run out. Seems simple. I mean, it is simple. I'm serious. I can do this in 7 to 10 minutes with anybody in a coffee shop, right? Except that it's real. Here's why I believe it's real. It's because I'm a skeptic who needs to be convinced, and I have been. I'm by nature very skeptical. We were doing this one day just like this in a place called Red Deer, Alberta, and this girl sitting about where you're sitting just starts sobbing. And I'm like, so what's happening in your heart over there? And she said, I'm running down a beach with Jesus, and he's looking me in the face. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I said, what's the first thing he says to me? You belong to me. And she starts crying again. Well, it was about 10 minutes till lunch, so I said, I'll check in with you at lunchtime. We'll see how you're doing. And I kind of wrapped the meeting up. And I go down and I say, so that's really awesome that he said you belong to me. And she said, oh, you don't understand. 3 months ago, I was a Satanist. And I came to Christ because someone had a prophetic word for me. Here's what the word was: God loves you. And she said, I could not get that out of my head. It echoed around in there. That was a word from the Lord. Could I commission you with that prophetic word for people? Thus says Lord, God loves you. See what happens. It's unbelievable. So she actually runs away. She leaves that city. She leaves that province, and she can't get away from the voice of God because it's in her now. It's the seed went in. And then, so she becomes a Christian, but the enemy keeps coming to her and says, you belong to me. Remember that ritual you did? Remember those vows you made? Remember that power I gave you? And I mean, this was a very broken, disempowered girl. She was only dabbling in Satanism because she wanted a little bit of control of her life. She was a mess. And now Jesus turns to her as they're running down the beach and says, you belong to me. And bam, she's instantly delivered of all the bondage of that Satanism. I mean, in a moment. You belong to me. 4 words from the mouth of Jesus. But isn't that just how it would work in the Gospels? He'd go, get out! And people would be free. And I said, that's wonderful. And she goes, that's not all. He healed my knees. I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, I could never run down a beach with Jesus. Because when I was born, my kneecaps never grew properly. And she said, my kneecaps were the size of quarters, that thin and that small. So I can't even run. But he's healed my knees. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, I'm running down the beach with Jesus. Now, what's Mr. Skeptic thinking? Not really, it's in your head. Well, it's like she could kind of read my mind. She goes, no, he really healed them. Feel them. And I'm like, okay, ex-Satanist wants me to touch her knees. I'm thinking lawsuit. But her pastor and his wife are sitting next to her, and they're going, no, this is real. And I'm, well, what do you mean? She said, she's telling the truth. She's crippled. You know, her knees don't work. And so she's holding her knees out still. So she's got jeans on, so I'm making sure I've got lots of witnesses. And I go, well, those are normal adult kneecaps. She goes, I know. He healed them. And I'm like, well, when? She said, in the last 10 minutes. I'm like, come on. You're simply lying. Man of faith. And it's not computing. And she said, I'm running down the beach in my heart with Jesus, and as he's speaking to me, my kneecaps grew. And her pastors are going, it's true, we can confirm it. I'm like, oh my God. What is that? So, that blew the door off my theology. And I see her a year later. I go back to that church. I go, hey, is kneecap girl in the room? By the way, she was so messed up. Because of her kneecaps, she couldn't walk properly. Because she couldn't walk properly, she never got exercise. Because she never got exercise, she was way overweight. And because she was way overweight, she was agoraphobic, didn't like going outside. In fact, she said it was like a miracle she came to this conference because she hates being seen. On top of that, she was legally blind. She had these big, ugly glasses. Without her glasses, she could see no further than 5 feet away. Okay? Sucks to be her. I'm thinking, I can hardly even feel compassion. How do you not kill yourself when you're this, I see her a year later. She goes, here I am. And she's over there. And I said, I totally didn't recognize her. I said, what happened to you? And she said, after Jesus grew my knees last year, I started really running with him. I've lost 80 pounds this year. I'm like, wow. And she said, can I share? Now, agoraphobia girl wants the mic. She comes up on the stage. She goes, I've lost 80 pounds this year. Last week, I was so afraid to go outside. Last week, I stood on this stage and I sang in church, a solo. I'm like, wow. And then she said, and look, no glasses. I'm like, what happened? Did you get eye surgery? She said, and she quotes Daniel 7. She doesn't know it, but Daniel says this over and over and over in chapter 7. She said this. This is how he healed my eyes. They're 20/20. She said, I just kept looking. So when we're playing around with these kids here, and they're saying, yeah, Jesus is in the living room, and he's smiling, and he's having, it's like, that's really fun, and it's real. And I've seen this again and again and again. I'm like, is this real? Or are we just mucking around playing head games in our happy place? It's like, no, it's as real as kneecaps. It's time to go. See you later. Have a break. Some of you need to go get prayer. I think I'm doing the same session in 10 minutes. And then, or something like it. And then at 4 o'clock, we're all going to meet together to do the 7th fire. Oh. Any other news, Danny? See you in a bit.